Ever scroll through social media and see, like, someone way younger than you killing it in the stock market? Kind of makes you wonder what you're doing wrong, right?
It's definitely alluring, that whole idea of, turning your savings into a fortune. And yeah, it's more accessible now than ever, but it's not exactly a walk in the park.
Exactly. So buckle up, because in today's deep dive, we're breaking down the world of stocks. No hype, just the facts on how it all actually works.
Think of us as your guides. We'll explore what stocks really are, their history, which is fascinating, by the way, and give you the knowledge to, navigate the whole thing.
We're talking everything from picking your very first stock to different ways to invest, all in plain English, even if you're a total newbie.
And we'll be drawing insights from Que son las acciones 2024, which I gotta say has a really down-to-earth approach to this stuff.
So let's start simple. What are stocks? Imagine, I don't know, a company that makes those electric scooters you see everywhere.
Okay, so that company is like, say, a pie, right? Representing all its value, its profits, the whole shebang. When you buy stock, you're buying a slice.
And obviously, the bigger the slice, the bigger your, like,
Mhm.
ownership, right? But why does owning a piece matter?
Because as the company does well, grows in value, so does your slice of the pie. That's the potential upside. But of course,
There's always a but, right?
right, there's risk. The company could lose value too. But the main idea here is you're not just, hoarding cash. You're actively participating in companies you believe in.
And that's always been a powerful concept. I mean, this was once just for the wealthy, but not anymore.
Exactly. Speaking of which, did you know the whole stock thing goes way back? Like, way back.
Oh, yeah. How far back are we talking?
Our source mentioned the first official stock exchange was in Amsterdam in 1602. Can you believe that?
1602. Wow, that's a long time ago.
It was the Dutch East India Company, one of the first global corporations that really got the ball rolling, issuing shares to fund their, shall we say, ambitious trading ventures.
So it wasn't just about getting spices from the East. It was about giving more people a chance to invest, not just the super rich.
Exactly. It was a revolutionary idea at the time, and it really changed the game.
So we've gone from like these old school trading floors to, well, trading on our phones. It's come a long way.
Yeah.
But how do we actually get started?
First things first, you'll need a brokerage account.
Okay, so like it's not as simple as just, I don't know, hitting buy on some website.
Not quite. Think of a brokerage account like a gateway. It gives you access to the markets to buy and sell stocks.
Makes sense. And I've heard of a few like Robinhood, E-Trade. Are those the kind of things we're talking about?
Those are some popular ones, yep. And our source, Cause Las Acciones 2024, mentions those too. They actually make a good point about there being different types of accounts, cash accounts and margin accounts.
Oh, I think I read about that somewhere. Cash count's probably the like straightforward one.
Yeah. With a cash account, you're only trading with the money you actually have in there.
Okay, that makes sense. So what about those margin accounts? Are those like for pros?
Not necessarily. Margin accounts let you borrow money from the brokerage to invest.
Wait, so you can invest with money you don't have?
In a way, yes, it can magnify your gains, but, and this is a big but,
It can also magnify your losses.
exactly. It's a higher risk, higher reward situation.
So once you've got your account, whatever kind it is, then it's time to choose some stocks.
Right. And our source really emphasizes the importance of doing your research before you jump in.
Yeah, that makes sense. You wouldn't buy a car without like checking it out first, right?
Exactly. You need to understand what you're investing in. Look into the company's business model, their financials, things like that.
Financials.
Right.
Because everyone understands those, right?
Well, that's where those research tools come in handy. Most brokerage platforms offer them, and you can find a ton of info on reputable financial websites too. Don't be afraid to use them.
Okay, good to know. So we've picked our broker, done our research, ready to buy some stock. What else?
Don't forget about things like index funds and ETFs.
Right, right. Those are kind of like, what, baskets of stocks?
Exactly. Instead of picking individual companies, you're spreading your money across a bunch of them. Our source points out this can be a good way to reduce risk, especially for beginners.
Diversification.
Right.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Now you're getting it. But even with diversification, you still need a strategy. Are you in it for the long haul, or are you trying to make a quick buck?
Right, because that probably changes how you approach things. And speaking of different approaches, let's talk about the different flavors of stock you might come across. What's the most common one?
Common stock. When you own common stock, you have a claim on the company's assets and earnings.
So like a tiny, tiny ownership stake.
Exactly. And with that often comes voting rights.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So you get a say in how the companies run.
To a degree, yes. And you also have the potential to earn dividends.
Dividends. Okay, break that down for me. Those are...
Basically, a share of the company's profits. They get paid out to shareholders, usually every quarter.
So it's like getting a little bonus just for owning the stock.
You got it. Now, it's important to note that dividends aren't guaranteed with common stock. However, with preferred stock, they usually offer a fixed dividend.
Preferred stock. Another flavor. What's the deal with those?
Preferred stock is a bit different. They typically don't come with voting rights. But if the company goes belly up and things go south,
Nobody wants that.
of course not. But if it happens, preferred stockholders get paid out before common stockholders.
Okay, yeah, that's good to know. But I got to be honest, the whole like bankruptcy thing, market crashes, that stuff kind of freaks me out.
It's understandable to feel that way. There's always some risk involved, right? But the higher the potential reward, usually, the higher the risk. That's just how it goes.
That's where diversification comes in, right? Like
Yeah.
they say, don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly. And not just different stocks either. You can diversify with bonds, real estate, that kind of thing. Our source actually mentioned that bonds tend to be less volatile than stocks, especially when the market's down.
So it's like a little safety net for your investments.
You got it. And let's not forget about those regulations we talked about. They're there to protect investors, keep things fair.
Right, regulations, diversification, research. That's a good starting point.
Mm.
Anything else new investors should keep in mind?
Our source had a good point about having a clear strategy. You need to know what you're aiming for. Long-term growth, short-term gains, that kind of thing.
Makes sense. It's like you wouldn't train for marathon the same way you train for a sprint. Totally different game plan.
Exactly. And speaking of the future, things are changing fast. Our source mentions some really interesting trends coming down the pipeline.
Oh, yeah. Like what? Hit me.
Well, there's the whole robo-advisor thing. Basically, algorithms that manage your investments for you.
So like AI that invests your money.
Pretty much. It takes the guesswork out of it, especially if you're not sure where to start.
Wow. What else is new in the investing world?
Sustainable investing is becoming huge. More and more people want to invest in companies that align with their values, environmentally conscious, socially responsible, that kind of thing.
I love that. Investing with a conscience. It's about time.
It's a growing trend for sure. And then there's blockchain. It's still early days, but it has the potential to revolutionize how we trade stocks.
Okay, now I'm really interested. Tell me more.
More transparency, more security, faster transactions. That's the promise of blockchain.
Wow. The future of investing sounds pretty exciting.
It is, and it's becoming more accessible too. There are these micro-investing platforms now where you can invest with just a few bucks.
That's awesome. It's about time everyone had a chance to get in the game. So we've covered a ton of ground today. What are the key takeaways you hope listeners walk away with?
Well, first off, stocks represent ownership. You're not just playing with numbers on a screen. You're part of something real.
Right. It's about owning a piece of those companies.
Exactly. And of course, there's always going to be risk, but you can manage that risk by diversifying, doing your research, having a solid strategy.
Knowledge is power, right?
Right.
The more you know, the better decisions you can make.
Exactly. And lastly, the world of investing is changing constantly. Don't be afraid to jump in and learn as you go.
I love that. It's a journey. Well, this has been an awesome deep dive into the world of stocks. Big thanks to our source, Que Son las Acciones 2024, for the insights.
Couldn't have done it without you, source material.
And to our listeners, thanks for coming along for the ride. We hope you learned a ton. Remember, the best time to start investing is always now.
Couldn't agree more.
Until next time, happy investing, everyone.